Well, hi everyone, and welcome to your pre-calculus summer video number 1. There is a series of 6 videos that I have posted for you, and each video will give you a lesson, and then there'll also be a worksheet to complete with each video. The link for the worksheet will be below the video. When you click on that link, it's going to open a document. It's very important. Do not open the document in Google Docs because some of the symbols will not come through correctly. So when you open the document, you need to open it as a PDF or print it off and complete it that way. If you want to open it in your Notability, you can do that. You can complete the assignment there. All of the assignments from the summer videos will be due the first day of class in August. Okay, all right, so let's get started. We're going to start, this video is going to be on factoring. Okay, just to refresh your memory on how to factor, specifically quadratic equations or quadratic expressions. Okay, so let's just start with the basics. If we have a quadratic expression, something like x squared plus 5x plus 6, when we factor this, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to equal 6, so 2 times 3, but add up to 5, 2 plus 3. So this is going to factor as x plus 2, x plus 3. And this type of quadratic expression is nice and simple because there's a 1 in front of the x squared. So just as another example, let's look at this one. Let's look at x squared plus 9x plus 14. So again, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to equal 14. So 7 and 2 will work, but add up to 9. Okay, oops, sorry about that. So we're looking at x plus 2, x plus 7. And of course, these get a little bit trickier when we throw in some negative numbers. Okay, so for instance, let's look at, let's do x squared plus, let's see, 3x minus 10. Okay, so this time we're looking for two numbers that multiply to equal negative 10. So we've got 1 and negative 10, negative 1 and positive 10, 2 and negative 5, negative 2 and positive 5. Okay, sometimes it helps to list our factors like that. Now looking at those, we have to figure out which combination is going to add up to positive 3. And now we can see easily that it's the negative 2 and the 5. So this is going to factor x minus 2, x plus 5. Okay. And then, of course, we might have something where both numbers are negative. So let's say that we have x minus 13x plus 42. Okay. So here we're looking at 42. Of course, we've got 1 and 42, 2 and 21. Let's see, 3 and, what is that, 14? Or we can have 6 and 7. But if we try to add up any of those, there's no way they're going to add up to a negative 13. So in order to multiply to a positive but add to a negative, they both need to be negative. So in this case, we're looking at negative 6 and negative 7. So we've got x minus 6 times x minus 7. Okay, so this should all be familiar to you. This is nothing new. you've been doing this. I'm just refreshing your memory. You do have to be relatively quick at factoring. And factoring when the x squared has a coefficient of 1 in front of it is pretty straightforward. Okay, now it gets a little bit more difficult when we have something that's not a 1 in front of that first coefficient, first exponent. Okay, instance, let's look at something like 3x squared plus 28x minus 20. Now, there are a lot of methods being taught to factor this, and to be honest, I don't even care which method you use, but you have to be able to factor pretty quickly. I know that Ms. Chevek teaches the slide and divide method. Some people teach different methods where you break this up and you do a factor by grouping. I'm going to just teach you my method. If you can factor using a different method and you can do it quickly, that's perfectly fine. But every time I factor, this is what we're going to use in class, okay? So this is how we do it. We're going to factor the 3x squared. Now this 3 is a prime number, so it's only going to factor one way. So we've got 3x times 1x. And then we're going to factor the negative 20. Now I can do negative 1 and 20, or of course 1 and negative 20, negative 2 and 10, 2 and negative 10. I can do negative 4 and 5, or 4 and negative 5. And what you'll find is that as you do this, you'll get faster at recognizing the combination that's going to work. And one of the things that I like about this method is that as you work through it, you kind of see it. It kind of pops out at you, okay? So I'm going to start by trying the 4 and the negative 5. So I'm just going to put a 4 and a negative 5 here. So this would be a positive 4. Okay. And then we're going to cross multiply to check to see if I have the correct factors. So 3x times negative 5 gives me negative 15x. And then 1x times 4 gives me positive 4x. Those add up to negative 9x. I need it to add up to 28x. So since they didn't add up to the right thing, I'm going to change them. So I'm going to start just by switching the order. So I'm going to move that 4 down here, and I'm going to move the 5 up. Okay. So before I totally abandon the negative 5 and the positive 4, I'm going to switch them around, and I'm going to check to see if it works that way. So we've got 3x times 4. That gives me 12x. I'm just going to write it down here. And then x times negative 5 gives me negative 5x. Well, that's not going to work either because that adds up to 7x, and I'm looking for 28x. So it looks like the 4 and the 5 are not going to work. So let's try the 2 and the 10. So we're going to do 2 and negative 10x. So when I cross multiply, I get negative 30x plus 2x. That adds up to negative 28x, which is real close, but not quite there. So what do we have to do? We're going to switch them. We're going to put the negative 10 up here and the 2 down there. That gives us 6x minus 10x. So that didn't work either. So what should we do? Yeah, let's leave that negative 10 and the 2 in this the other spot there. Let's put the 10 back down here, the 2 here, but let's switch the negative signs. Now I've got 30x plus negative 2x, and that adds up to positive 28x. Okay? Now, as you do this, you'll start to recognize it. As soon as you write the numbers in here, you'll see whether it's going to work. and it's not going to take this long. Okay, now that we've chosen those correct factors, we've cross-multiplied to check it. Now we're ready to form our factors. Our factors go straight across. So we have 3x minus 2 and x plus 10. Those are the correct factors. We cross-multiply to check it, but the factor goes straight across. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's look at 5x squared plus 32x minus 64. Okay, so we're going to factor the 5x squared. We get 5x times x, and we're going to factor the 64. 1 and 64, 2 and 32, let's see, 4 and 16, 8 and 8. And one of them has to be negative. So let's try the 8 and 8. Okay, we'll make one negative. Let's cross multiply. 5x times 8 is 40x. X times negative 8 is negative 8x, and we chose the right one right away. That adds up to 32x, and that's what I was looking for. So that means our factors are 5x minus 8 times x plus 8. You see how fast that is? You should be able to factor it quickly. You would get the same result with the slide and divide, but it's not fast. Okay? You're at a point now where you have number facts that are strong enough that you should be able to do this. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's look at 7x squared minus 47x plus 30. Okay, so let's factor our 7x squared. We have 7x times x. Okay, and we're looking at 30. 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. Okay, so which one would you like to try? Now the 30 is positive, but they have to add up to a negative, which means they're both going to be negative. Okay, so once you list your numbers here, it's you can kind of see it. It doesn't take long to see it with these, right? I can see that it's going to be negative 5 and negative 6 because 7x times 6 is negative 42x. X times negative 5 is negative 5x. That adds up to negative 47x. So the correct factors here will be 7x minus 5 times x minus 6. Okay? Okay, let's try another one. Right? I call this the Murray method. This is kind of a method that I made up, right? So we're factoring using the Murray method. Okay, let's try blah, 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 blah. Okay, here we go. 5x squared minus 22x plus 8. So pause the video and try this one yourself. Okay, we're going to factor the 5x squared. We got 5x and x. We need 8. So 1 and 8, 2 and 4. They both have to be negative. So looking at that, again, you can immediately see when you list those factors that it's going to be negative 2 and negative 4. This gives me negative 20x. This gives me negative 2x. That adds up to negative 22x. So my factors are 5x minus 2 times x minus 4. Okay, so far we've looked at two different ways of factoring. This is an example where the coefficient in front of the x squared is 1, And then we've looked at examples where the coefficient is a prime number, which means there's only one way of factoring it. Okay, so let's look at an example when the coefficient is not prime. Now these get a little bit harder. So let's look at 9x squared plus 33x plus 10. We're going to use the same method. It's just that we have two ways of factoring it, and it might take a little longer to figure out which. So 9x squared, that can be 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. So I'm going to start with the 3x and 3x. And then, of course, 10, we're looking at 1 and 10 or 2 and 5. So again, as soon as I wrote these factors down, I could see it has to be the 1 and the 10. We cross multiply to check, and we get 30x plus 3x, so that equals 33x. So this will factor as 3x plus 1, 3x plus 10, and we're finished. Okay, they're not all that easy. They do get a little more complicated. For instance, let's look at this one. 4x squared minus 37x plus 63. So looking at the 4x squared, we can factor that as 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. So let's try the 2 and 2. 2x times 2x. Okay. Now 63. So let's see, we've got 1 and 63. They're both going to have to be negative because that's positive, but that's negative. We've got 3 and 21. And we've got 9 and 7. Okay. So let's try the 9 and 7. Both negative. So when we cross multiply, we get negative 14x plus negative 18x. Does that add up to negative 37? No, it does not. It adds up to negative 32. So 9 and 7 don't work. Okay, so let's try the 3 and 21. Okay, I'm just going to move these out of the way. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply. We get negative 42x plus negative 6x, and that doesn't work either. In fact, I'm getting further off. I know that negative 1 and 61 are not going to work, or 63 are not going to work. That's going to be way too big. Okay, so we've exhausted all of the possibilities using the 2x and the 2x. So now I'm going to switch and I'm going to change this to the 1 and the 4x. So that's where this gets a little more complicated. Well, not really complicated, but tedious, because I have to try all the combinations. I used the 2x and the 2x, and I tried every combination, and it didn't work. So now I switch to the 1 and the 4. Okay, so let's go back. All right, let's go back. So I've got 1x times 7, that's negative 7x. 4 times 9, so that's negative 36, and that's not going to work. So let's switch it. Before we switch to 3 and 21, I've got to switch the 9 and the 7. Okay, and that's going to give me negative 9x plus negative 28x, and voila, I finally found the right combination. So this is the correct combination right here. Those factors are x minus 7 times 4x minus 9. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but it's just a matter of how lucky you are with the choices you make. Okay, so let's look at 4x squared minus 8x minus 5. So I can use 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. So I'm going to try 2 and 2 again, 2x and 2x. And for the 5, this one's a little easier because it's only 1 and 5. Now it could be negative 1 and positive 5 or positive 1 and negative 5. So looking at what I need in the middle, I can kind of see quickly that it has to be 1 and negative 5. When I cross multiply, that gives me negative 10x, positive 2x, which adds up to negative 8x. So this is going to factor as 2x plus 1 times 2x minus 5. Remember, you're cross multiplying to check it, but the factors go straight across. Okay, let's look at another one. All right, here we have 10x squared plus 47x plus 42. All right, so 10x squared. So I'm going to try the 2x and the 5x. If that doesn't work, then I'll go to 10 and 1. 42, we've got lots of options. 1 and 21. I'm sorry, 2 and 21, right? 1 and 42. And we've got 6 and 7. So I think I'd like to try the 6 and the 7. And as I'm writing it in here, I can see that that's not quite right, right? Cross multiplying, I'm going to get 14x plus 30x, which gives me 44x. So that doesn't work. Well, what if we switch them? What if we put the 7 up there and a 6 down here? So now I'm going to have 12x plus 35x, and that one works. So we're looking at 2x plus 7, 5x plus 6. And there's our factor. Okay, so we're going to stop there. I've showed you your basic factor where the coefficient in front of the x is a 1. I showed you the Murray method where the coefficient is a prime number. And then the Murray method where the coefficient is not prime. Again, it doesn't matter to me which method you use, but in class, anytime we factor, this is the method I will use. You have to be able to factor quickly. Okay, so there is a worksheet linked at the bottom of this video, the bottom of the video, but below the video. So there'll be a link for the worksheet. Remember, when you open the worksheet, do not open it in Google Docs. You've got to open it as a PDF or print it off. Okay? And don't forget, you have 5 more videos that you need to watch before the first day of school. If you have any questions at all, please email me. I will be happy to answer your questions. I will check my email periodically, so feel free to just send me an email with whatever questions you might have.